Live. Yeah. Everything looking good. Looks like the microphone check one. It's working. So yeah, coming back through with the live biz trends. What's up, family and friends? Staying true to the end. So, gotta bring to you some business news, talking about not what I choose, but what the trends say. Got a few new trends today, mainly the stimulus. Looking at the new stimulus agreement that they're working on. It's like stimulus part two. Will there be a part three? We'll see. I don't know. But anyways, I'm just gonna go with the flow and see what happens. So I would have to say it's a good day. And yeah, so before I really get started, just always wanted to say, anybody has any questions or comments in regards to business or passive income, I'm live right now, so feel free to leave your questions or comments right here in the chat. I'll see it and then I'll respond to that. So basically, anybody interested in starting a business, anybody looking to start passive income, even if they have one source and they're looking to add sources, and I could help you brainstorm some new ones, or even if you don't even really understand passive income, but you want to get started with that first one and you don't really know where to begin, this is the spot. So all you got to do is put in your questions. And if you don't catch me live this time, it's always going to be a next. So uh, on to the government writing out these blank checks. It's called the stimulus part two, or the Heroes Act. And basically, yeah, so the first one passed. Uh, Pretty much like everyone for the most part that makes like under about 100,000 a year got like a $1,200 check. Most people got their checks. A lot of people still didn't, but yeah, definitely not enough to keep the economy going. So the Fed is saying that need to keep the money flowing. The Fed is basically saying like we just need to print out as much money as we can right now, get it circulating. What's up, Sonny G? Typo. Hope you guys are all well. Yeah, all is good, all is well. So basically, they got that first one up, and Fed said, it's not enough. We need more money circulating the economy. Basically, we just need to put as much money as we can out there right now, and worry about the consequences, the ramifications, however you want to say it later. So basically, obviously there's going to be, the country's already in like a lot of debt. So, you print out a lot more money. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, is that it's going to cause a lot of inflation, which could basically mean the dollar buys less than it would. But, the dollar is already reaches something like 2% inflation a year, even without this. So you guys have not received any money. Did you know that you can go to the IRS website, and there is a section on the website. Oh man, I can't remember what it's actually called, but basically it's something like get my stimulus or something like that. I've got it written down somewhere. But yeah, basically you can type in your name and your information, and the IRS will tell you, the status of your check, when they're sending it out, what address they have on file for you, stuff like that. So yeah, if you're not sure when you're gonna get it, I would recommend to check out the IRS for that. Um, So yeah, basically that's the thing, is like, they're gonna keep printing out money. They're gonna worry about it later. But I mean, I see, on one hand, that sounds like a horrible idea, because it's like, well, I mean, like there's going to be, the more money you print out, the more inflation is going to be, the more problems there's going to be. But on the other hand, what they're saying is like, if we don't print out this money right now, then basically, the economy is going to fail. And what they're saying is like, if we let it fail, then we're going to be in like a way worse spot than if we were to just, you know, stop it from failing now and worry about how they're going to, solve the problem later. So, who knows when later is going to be? That's the main thing. That's the wild card is, how long this is going to last. So, obviously, like the longer it lasts, the worse off the economy is going to be. There's all kind of people worried about, uh, you know, things like, is this some kind of like hoax? Is this some like even real? I mean, like I'm not even trying to like get into that. I'm like, obviously people are dying, and the disease is real. Like there's no doubt about that. So yeah, I mean, you just gotta like take it for what it is and like be careful. But I mean, in my case, I'm just like, man, I would rather be safe than sorry. So yeah, this is devastating. Sonny's saying, uh, yeah, he's saying that Sonny's thinking that a lot of companies are going to use this as an opportunity to not hire back many of the staff. Well, yeah, that's pretty much what a lot of economists are predicting. It's going to be good and bad coming out of this. There's going to be definitely a lot of people that won't get hired back. There's going to be a way bigger job market, like amount of people looking for jobs, and there's going to be less, excuse me, jobs out there. But that's all like how you look at it, like everything in life, right? Like one person can multiple people can go through the same event, same situation, and one person can see it as like, oh man, this is the worst thing that ever happened to me, and another person can see it as like, wow, like this is the best thing that ever happened to me. So it's all about mindset, and that's really what I'm trying to talk about right now. Is like, all these business trends and everything. Like the root of what I'm getting at is really like how I can help people see this as like a way to improve, like a way to see the positives, a way to see the benefits from this. So, like, yeah, a lot of people will lose their jobs. A lot of people will be in a position where it's going to be harder to find a job. A lot of people, even that don't lose their jobs, will probably lose income. But the situation is that it's going to be, the world's going to be different after this for sure, right? A lot of people are going to be at home more. And there's, in my mind, this is really an opportunity for people to see that there's a lot more opportunity to make passive income. This is like really in my lifetime, like if I hadn't already been like in business, started a business, many years ago, this would be really like the perfect time. And I remember when I started my first business, really like I really had nothing. I was like, just figuring out it as I went, but it was something I wanted to do. And really I had to read a lot into it because the main thing is really mindset. So, a lot of people see it as like starting a business is more difficult than getting a job. You have to work for a while usually before you see any kind of like return on your investment of time and money. And that's why it's really difficult for people. Not to mention the fact that, like, the whole society, school teaches people to, get a job. Like, that's just kind of like how people are taught, like the way people like, believe like how you like get ahead in life and the society, everything like that. But really what I'm trying to say is like, there's another side to that, and that's like passive income in business to where you can make a lot more money. So it's like, if you, it's like there's like, people right now that are sitting back and they're just like, really bored and they're just like watching a lot of TV. And there's a lot of people right now that are looking at this like, wow, I have wanted to start this business, wanted to start this source of passive income for so many years, but I haven't had time because I've been so busy with work. And now this is like my perfect opportunity. So that's, why I'm here. So people can, like ask me questions about like, advice on like getting started with passive income or business. And yeah, so Jeanette's saying like a lot of people will start working from home. And that's very true. And there's like benefits to that too. Like you work from home, like that's, extra time you have not commuting, extra money you're saving. I mean, it's good for the environment. Like you just got to look at like the benefits from it. Like you got to I would say like stay positive, right? Cuz like what you focus on is going to expand what you believe you can achieve. So really yeah, you just got to stay positive cuz I mean, negativity is not going to help you. Like worrying is not going to help you. Um if anything, you focus on like all the things that could go wrong, you focus on all the negativity, that's something you're more likely to see. That's something that's more likely to happen to you. So yeah, you just got to stay positive. You got to stay up. You got to really be looking at all the benefits instead of the setbacks. Which yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, when never in my life have I gotten a 12 like any check from the government unless it was like a tax return. Um, so yeah, I mean that's like I would say like when I first started my first business, well actually like my first business wasn't passive income. When I first started that, it was like it was like an actual physical business and it wasn't a passive income generation of money. It was like, each time you did a product or service, you would get paid. But my second business was like strictly passive income. And I started that with way less than $1,200. So there's really a lot of sources of passive income that you could start with a $1,200 investment, just by hiring people online. And I'm sure that's another positive thing. There's going to be a lot more people online. And sorry, Jeanette, I just missed your message. I was about to get to it, but it's not showing up, but it's all good. So yeah, there's a lot of people, and there's going to be a lot more people on Upwork, Fiverr, and you can really look at whatever source of passive income you're trying to start, and find out what you're trying to do, find out what your strengths are, and find the people that are better at things that you can't do, and hire these people for pretty cheap. And I would say like you wouldn't even need like I would say like $500, like realistically, is enough for someone to really like start a passive income business. And yeah, it's the type of thing where you like getting started, I believe, is like more of a time commitment than a money commitment with passive income. Okay, yeah, Jeanette, where your attention goes, income flows. So that's so true. So yeah, I mean, you got to focus on the abundance. You got to focus on like the fact that there's like a lot more money circulating out here, a lot more time to really like get to where you want to be, just a lot more opportunity. So yeah, just staying positive about the whole thing. And I mean really like so kind of going back to where I was with the stimulus, what's really going on right now is that first one passed like I mean less than 2 months ago, and they're already doing a second one. So it's like who knows if they're going to need a third one. Basically, the or not the federal government, but the Fed, the Federal Reserve, they're the ones that are pretty much like telling the federal government, like this is something that the economy really needs, right? They're the ones that really like control. They're supposed to be separate, like not controlled by our government. But basically, they're the ones that control the monetary policies as far as inflation, as far as interest rates and things like that to keep the economy strong. So Sonny's wondering what's an example of passive income. Okay, so like the first source of passive income I started was from books. So like the first business I started was like a delivery service, right? And I was working on it, building it up with some friends. But basically, it was like, the delivery service was not passive income because it was like we would get somebody would order some food. They would pay. The way we had it set up was like, let's say a burger cost $10. They would order this burger through our website from like the restaurant they wanted, and then they would pay like an extra dollar for the burger, and then they would also pay like an extra dollar for the delivery fee. So we would make, like 20% margins on this burger that we would deliver, and that was not passive income because we would be making, money based on like each order that came through. So like at night when we were closed, the money stopped and the money was only being made when orders were coming in. So looking at that, the second one I started was books. So like let's say you write a book and you put a book out. As soon as that book is out, it's consistently, as long as it's like available for people to buy, whenever somebody buys it, for the rest of basically your life. I mean, even longer, really. As long as somebody buys that, you're making money in your sleep. And like as you expand, like say you then you've got two books. Then like a year later, you might have like, I mean, I've published over 200 books. So you look at it and it's just like exponential growth, right? So basically, yeah, passive income is something to where like you create something and it's making money. So also investing is passive income. I mean, if you're profitable, it can also like investing, you can also lose money, but that's any business. I mean, that's anything in life. Like the bigger the risk you take, the bigger potential losses or bigger potential gains you can make. So yeah, Jeanette's saying, I wonder where the stimulus money's coming from. Basically, it's coming from nowhere. It's coming from thin air. The Federal Reserve is responsible for printing out money, and the Federal Reserve said that they're going to print out an unlimited supply of money. So, like, if you look at the stock market right now, and a lot of people are really wondering, like, why is it that the stock market is going up when the economy is going down? Like, aren't those two things supposed to be correlated? Well, they used to be much more, but now you've got a thing where like, okay, the stock market has gone up and the Fed said that they were going to use their money that they print out of thin air, basically, that they just say like, okay, we're creating an extra $1 trillion today and we're going to use like $1 billion, and they just pick which stocks they're going to put it into. So the Fed has been buying up stocks, and yes, the stock market is manipulated. It always has been manipulated, um, just like the cryptocurrency markets. Any that's how a lot of people make money in like a trading sense, in like a short term sense. So yeah, and like look at this, for if you have a lot of money in the market and you have been trading for many years and you understand how to make money with the market, this would be like a perfect opportunity for you to manipulate it. Because basically, I mean, there's a lot of people that are looking at this like, okay, well, everything is going to get worse. The media is saying everything's getting worse. All these businesses are going out of business. Um, so it's like it should be like a clear, easy choice to say that like, okay, well, everything's going to go down. And a lot of people have bet that the stock market is going to keep dropping, and it hasn't. So a lot of people have lost a lot of money on those bets. And a lot of people like myself, I've been paying attention to this for a while. I was more into crypto before this crash, because I saw that, like, I believed personally that markets were basically, like pretty much like oversold or overbought. I mean, and a crash was inevitable even before I understood anything about this pandemic. And then once the pandemic hit, it was just like the straw that broke the camel's back. So basically, I didn't have much money in the stock markets because I saw this is not a good time. Some people thought that like, it's going to keep going up. It could go up another 10 years, but I was like, I'm skeptical about that. I'm going to take my chances and see what happens. And I waited, and I had money on the sideline waiting is when it dropped, and when it bottomed out is when I started buying in. So, yeah, you just got to look at it. One person loses a lot of money, one person makes a lot of money. That's how the stock market works. There's always takes a loser to make a winner. So the crypto is to get you to accept digital one world currency that can be wiped from an individual with a keystroke. Um, well, I mean, that sounds like a really like pessimistic way to look at it, but there's a lot of benefits from crypto. I would say that in all reality, um, the people who lose their crypto are people who get scammed, are people who send their crypto to the wrong address accidentally. But if you control your crypto, so like let's say you go on to like a popular site where you can buy stocks, and a lot of these sites are starting to include cryptocurrencies, right? So if you buy crypto on there and you buy it and then they're holding it, like you don't really control the crypto. If the government for whatever reason decides to freeze your assets, decides, even if like this bank fails that you're banking through, what would happen would basically be you would lose it. But if you understand crypto and you understand that, like, okay, you can have um you can have your own cold storage wallet, which is basically like there's certain sites like Coinbase and other sites where you go and you buy crypto and then you put it onto your own storage. You own that crypto, right? But as everybody knows, if you have money in the bank, what happened during the Great Depression? People lost all their money, right? The banks failed. Like the government couldn't do anything about it. People went to withdraw their money and there was no money to get. What happens if somebody is under investigation for something and maybe they're innocent? The government will freeze their funds, right? I mean, so you have, in my opinion, you have way more control over cryptocurrency. And another thing is, I do not believe that cryptocurrency is going to be like a one world currency that it's like crypto or nothing. I think that crypto is going to exist alongside other currencies. So like the dollar will still exist. It's not like crypto is gonna like end the dollar. There's still gonna be the dollar there. Crypto is just gonna be like another way. So like, I mean, looking at it like for a business, like say you're a business and say that you have to, take credit cards. Like most people buy stuff with credit cards, and you're paying a fee each time somebody uses a credit card. Well, let's say you now accept cryptocurrency payments. The fee is gonna be like just way less. Like you would be saving way more money as a business by accepting cryptocurrency than by accepting credit cards. But I mean, cryptocurrency is still so new. Like it's still like, there's things that you can buy cryptocurrency with, but as far as like mainstream adoption, like it hasn't even started yet. It's still so young. Like there's still a long way to go. And yeah, so AAA is saying banks will fall again. It's happening now or fail again. And yeah, some of them have, but um, the majority of them would get bailed out, no matter what they're doing. And that's like really the main problem, in my opinion, is because like back in 2008, all these banks got bailed out instead of really, like some people say like you just need to let these fail. Some people say you need to bail them out. In the case of like this with banks, like if you don't bail them out, people who have money in the bank are going to lose their money. But like, if you let, if the problem being here is really what I'm getting at is like, okay, so if a business or a bank does things that would make it fail, right? Like they're basically like, maybe it was something that they knew could end up bad, maybe it was something they didn't even see. But either way, they're doing things that are going to cause it to fail, right? Just like right now, you have businesses that need bailouts and you have businesses that stored as cash. And that's another story. That's like stock buybacks is really like even before the pandemic, like I was like, okay, well, and a lot of other people that I listened to were really basically saying that stock buybacks, which is companies buying back their own stocks with their money, is going to cause the next recession or whatever it's going to be. So really a big reason like a lot of these companies needed to get bailed out was that instead of, saving money, like, would be wise, like because you never know what's going to happen as a business, they were taking this money and they were buying back their own stock. So now you have a position. Now you have a situation where the stock market crashes. All of these businesses that had been taking their money and buying back their own stocks, whatever they paid for it back when it was at a high, if they wanted to sell now, they've like lost so much money. So basically, you have a situation where these stock buybacks have caused these companies to where if they would have saved their money, they wouldn't have needed so much money to be bailed out because they would have had that money as like a buffer or backup. Um, so basically, with more bailouts means more printed money out of thin air. It'll decrease the value even more. Exactly. I mean, that's inflation, right? Because like the more money that you print out, the more you have to deal with inflation, the more the dollar will lose its value. I mean, just look at like oh man, I feel like I think I saw something that from like the time the dollar started, when America started back in like the 1700s, that the dollar's lost like some 90 some percent of its value. Like even I remember seeing prices from like 50 years ago, like things were like less than half the price of what they are now. Like things like gas, milk, stuff like that. Well, actually, gas is kind of tanked with this oil war that's going on right now. That just seems to be going on at a time where the mainstream media is not talking about it because there's a lot of other things going on, but it's also going on at a time where people aren't consuming gas, and I mean that's a whole nother issue in itself. So our country can afford saying our country can afford a $3 billion submarine for one, but can't feed the poor. They got money for war, but can't feed the poor. Yeah, like straight from like the Tupac quote. But what sense does that make? Okay. So, like, to you and me, like, I would say, why would there's places in America that look like war zones. There's places in America where people are starving, right? Why would you put all this money into like submarines in other countries? It's for basically the same, a big reason that cryptocurrency is so valuable, that I think cryptocurrency is like so beneficial, is because cryptocurrency is not controlled by any government or person, or at least some of them are, but Bitcoin is not controlled by any person or government. It's independent. Okay, so in the case of the Federal Reserve printing out all this money for America, look at all these other countries out here that do not have the the benefit of having unlimited money printed out. That's pretty much just like America, okay, or anybody like an ally of America, and they would basically be getting loans from America. So why does America spend so much money? And this is like this can be like an opinion, but so why does America need to spend so much money on things like submarines and tanks and military and all this stuff? It's so they can have that control so that they can print out as much money as they want. So they can have the control of their US dollar being number one, right? Because they control basically the world. They've been doing that for a while, telling other countries what to do, whether you think that's right or wrong. So yeah, saying our dollar affects more other countries' dollar dramatically. Like you said, yeah, it's just control. Like because if we didn't have that strong military, is it something where like other countries are going to come and invade us? Or is it that if we don't have that control over everyone, will we not be able to control the world's money? Like, will we not be in a position where we can print out as much money as we want? Will we not be in a position where we basically have like, the power when it comes to like this money and stuff? Like when it comes to like oil and everything like that. That's why a lot of these wars are fought, even though they're not directly reported by the media in most cases that they're fought over oil. But when you look at where these wars are fought, strategically, they're all like heavy oil producing countries for the most part. Um, Desert Storm, what happened was like the one country, blew up their own oil reserve as kind of like a middle finger to like, whatever country was invading them. But yeah, I'm not trying to really like I don't want to like speculate on that stuff. Like I just want to stay unbiased as I can about that. There's like there's good and bad about everything. Um so yeah, last message was held for review. Our people will rise against the fuckery soon as the military only make 1%, the 98% will have the last say. Um, yeah, I agree. There's definitely too much fuckery out here, but like, will that ever change? Like, I don't know. As long as like there's people on Earth, like there's gonna be too much fuckery. So, the question is like, will people like rise up? Because like, look at right now. Look at 2008. Like, what happened? There were a lot of protests. There was that like 99% movement back in 2008. Well, another thing about this pandemic happening right now, which is crazy for the timing, right? Because you look at it, not only is it the stock market was at like all time highs. The stock market was just like it had got all time highs and it was just starting to level out. I myself and a lot of other people that understand, and still my understanding is just a couple of years of like financial stuff for the most part. Like other people that understood it way better than me, like even all the charts said it was like oversold, like a crash was coming. But really, when you look at it, it's like basically, there is there's crazy timing because this pandemic comes when the market's like where it's at, and not only that, but like everything, like the amount of money that the people are getting from these bailouts is like less than half, a small percentage of the amount of money that companies and banks are getting from these bailouts. So when you really look at it, uh are there people protesting right now? No, they can't because it's a pandemic. I mean, there are some people protesting, but it's very convenient for if you were looking at it as like the 1% versus the 99% that people can't protest. Yeah, AA saying, Bill Gates is some of that Bill Gates stuff. Uh, you know, I I don't know. There's a lot of people saying a lot of things right now. All I know is like Bill Gates has done a lot to help the world. Bill Gates has, I mean, think about it like Bill Gates has donated, like, he's had a lot of money, but he's donated so much money to helping so many people. I've heard rumors that, Bill Gates was behind this, stuff like that. Well, I have not seen any proof that would, you know, validate this. Like, like, if someone would show me proof, then that would be a different story. But I mean, as any time in history, Bill Gates is banned out of certain countries. Okay, well, I mean, I didn't know anything about that, but all I'm saying is like I have not seen any proof at all that Bill Gates has anything to do with what's going on right now, as far as from this pandemic, right? Uh, but he has helped a lot of people. Like I would not, I never saw Bill Gates as being a bad person. Like he's always done a lot for the world. He's dedicated his life to philanthropy and a lot of positive things. So I mean, I would just be real careful, saying stuff like that if you don't have direct evidence or proof. There's a lot of theories going around right now. But for the most part, I try to, I'm not trying to take any sides. I'm trying to stay biased with this. I'm trying to bring people like news about how they can benefit from this, trying to stay positive about it, trying to look at the positive aspects of it. Um, it's like there's a lot of opportunity right now, but you just got to be aware of what's going on. So that being said, yeah, the yesterday number one trending news thing people were searching for was the new stimulus bill that, so from what I understand, like it hasn't ultimately passed everything, but it got voted. It was like 1,800 pages. Um Basically it's a stimulus package that's going to bring people, I think like another $1,200 check. Originally, they were looking at something like giving people like $2,000 a month. That didn't pass. They didn't want that. But it's looking at bringing people, for the most part, out of the 1,800 pages, out of a lot of things, they're going to bring people another $1,200 check. They're going to expand unemployment benefits, which usually would have ended, I think, in July, up until like January. So really, they're bailing out a lot of people. They're also going to be bailing out more businesses. But yeah, I mean, like I haven't read all 1,800 pages, but there's a lot of things people are debating on, depending on the side that you're on from a political standpoint. Which like when I vote, like I don't really find myself as any political affiliate. Like I don't identify myself as Democrat or Republican or any other political thing. Like I vote for as a good person or a bad person, what their beliefs are, how they align with my beliefs. But yeah, just got to stay positive about everything. Got to look at the benefits. So the stimulus was the number one trending thing, and that's good because usually the number one trending spot goes to some kind of like reality TV show or some kind of like celebrity or something like that. So it's good that people are like at least the majority of people are trying to understand this, are getting educated about this. Um, so what that basically means is like anybody who's like stuck at home, anyone who doesn't have a job is going to be getting, for the most part, most people. I mean, unless you're making more than 100K, which you would probably have the money to start passive income anyway. Another $1,200 check, and even more. In some cases, if you have like children and stuff like that. So basically, you can go and you can start passive income. Like you wouldn't even have to put too much work into it. I mean, in my case, like looking at like when I first started the books, I pretty much did everything myself at first. Because I realized like I didn't know like what was going to sell. I didn't really know how it worked. So I could have hired people out to do everything at first, but I would have like maybe not lost is the best word, but I would have spent a lot of money that I wouldn't have got a return on. But instead I ended up spending a lot of time, trial and error, seeing what worked. And then after I did everything myself for the most part and saw what worked, I was able to start hiring people with a better understanding of like, okay, now that I'm hiring people to do like certain things, I have a better understanding of what's going to bring in income, and I was able to hire people and pretty much like not lose the money, or like I would like spend $100 to hire someone to do a task, and like that would get a return of more than the $100 I spent. So yeah, you got a lot of opportunity right now. And not only too, but there's a lot of people that are saying that there's going to be a lot of inflation, and then there's even people that are saying like, well, maybe it's actually going to be deflation, like maybe because there's way less people out there buying stuff, that what's going to happen is that prices will go down because like it's supply and demand. There's going to be more supply and less demand. So if that's the case, like maybe it's possible we would see deflation. Like no one really knows. This is really like, if you look at it, kind of like an experiment. And I mean, looking at the long term thing, like a lot of people think short term, especially when it comes to like the markets and finance. And that's another like topic in itself, where that's how a lot of people like make money from the markets, is because they realize that a lot of the crowds for the most part only see like short term. But if you look at the long term of history, like our US dollar, our current monetary system is only what, a couple hundred years old. So it's basically still an experiment, because no currency has lasted, I think, more than like 500 or 1,000 years or something like that in the history of the world. So yeah, so like A saying American people need help in these times, yet billion-dollar companies get overnight bailout. Very illogical. I mean, yeah, it depends how you look at it. Like I'm saying, like in the past, like think of 2008. Did American people get any kind of bailout? No, they lost their homes. The banks that made the bad loans got the bailouts. At least this time, people are getting money. So, and if you look at it, like what would happen, if you let these companies fail? Like no one knows. Like, because if we didn't do it, we didn't let these companies fail. We bailed them out. So, like you like looking at it from the perspective of like an economist or like the Federal Reserve, they're looking at it like, okay, well, if we let these companies fail, it's going to be way worse situation than if we didn't, from a long term perspective. Um, so yeah, like I hear what you're saying, like I respect your beliefs and everything, but like when you're telling me stuff that like Bill Gates wants to do like bad things, like I mean, like what like proof, like what facts do you have to support this? Like I have not seen it. I've heard this before, but I've not seen any kind of proof or any kind of like legitimate like facts that would support this. And you're saying that he says it. I've never heard Bill Gates say anything like that. I mean, if it's out there, I'd like to hear it. I'm just trying to hear more sides of the story. Like, I don't want to say you're wrong. I don't want to say I'm wrong or I'm right. I'm just trying to say, like, just like, yeah, man, send a link. That would help. Because I've never heard anything like that before. But I'm just trying to like, stay as unbiased as possible and really not like, like there's a lot of stuff, even like cryptocurrencies is speculation whether it's going to work. And you look at it like the dollar is really a speculation whether it's going to work in the long term. Like who knows what's going to outlast the other. So like speculation, like, but if it's facts, it's facts. If it's speculation, it's speculation. So I just want to keep that clear. I want to be like a source for people to look at like what's trending in business, what's going on in the world, and how they can use that to their benefit to basically, you know, passive income business, how to make more money. Because, like, you look at it, like I've always said, even before this, trillions and trillions of dollars has been printed out of thin air. I've always been saying, like, okay, well, there's so much money out here, especially in America, especially where I live. And I live in America. There's so much money out here. There's so much abundance, but unfortunately, the majority of money is in a very few hands, and I don't think it has to be that way. I think I'm trying to see more equality. I'm trying to see like um, live in a world where money is more evenly distributed. And as you can see, like yeah, like you can print out like so much money is ridiculous, and only time will tell. But it's going to be interesting to see like how people after this is all over and a couple years passes, are people going to be better off or are they going to be worse? Like no one really knows right now if we're doing the right thing or the wrong thing as far as like, the economy goes. You just got to wait and see. So yeah, whatever does happen though is no, like it's your mindset, right? Like the more you can become educated about what's going on, the more you understand trends, the more you understand business, the more you understand passive income, more you understand investing, all of these things, the better off you're going to be. So like, it doesn't, in my opinion, like to go and speculate about like whether or not people are trying to like, do something negative to the world to like have some like evil objective, like that's not going to help me. Like if I were to investigate this kind of stuff, like that would not help me at all. Like if I were to be aware of what's going on in the world, what people think, that does help. But for the most part, like I would rather look into like the positive and like how I can help other people benefit, how I can bring value to other people, how I can, better the situation, how I can better understand the situation and use that in like from like a business standpoint, help bring more money to more people. That's really what I'm trying to focus on. Because like we were all saying before, you like what you focus on will expand. So yeah, you just gotta try to keep it positive, and you know, I feel like that's about all you can do is use your time and money constructively. Um, you know, because like that goes to another thing. On one hand, it's like this money is being sent out this money's being sent out to stimulate the economy, but what happens is if people are afraid and they get all this extra money and they don't spend it, and that's a huge reason. Like, look at what happened with the markets and the crashes. Like, these businesses were not investing money back into the economy, like in a perfect economic structure would have been. They were buying back their own stocks because for them that's, I mean, who's ever like the top dog that's making the decisions, the CEOs and everything, they're looking at it from a perspective of like, okay, well, I'm held accountable by my board of directors. My board of directors cares more about, you know, the price of our stock. So if we take our money and we buy more stock, that like it's to me it's like it's not very it's a big reason, like things are as bad as they are right now, because when they should have been focusing on like how to like use that money to benefit the economy and benefit the world, people were affected by greed, and greed is like always like going to be, usually when you look at the situations when things go wrong, greed is usually like a huge factor. And greed's like a big problem right now. So basically what happened was, a lot of these companies were greedy and they were like, well, we can take all this extra money and we can go and like, do things with it that would like benefit the economy and benefit more people. Or we can buy back our own stocks and then like our board of directors will be more happy, and other people will want to buy our stock even more, and dividends and all that stuff. Well, what happened is like now a lot of these companies have to cut dividends. A lot of people lost a lot of money that were buying these stocks at all-time highs. Luckily, I mean, think where the market would be right now if the Fed had not printed out all this money and stepped in and like bought back. Think of how many people had worked their whole lives to get 401ks and all these kind of like investments for retirement, and they would have, like, if the market hadn't have been inflated, I mean, they would have lost like half their money, like that they would have spent their whole life to work on. But that's like another thing too, is like I'm always trying to tell people like learn, even if you don't have the money yet. That's passive income is investing. That's one of the like highest sources in my mind of like making passive income. So even if you're not making a lot of money yet to invest, start learning it, start investing like a little bit of money, and start learning yourself, because in my opinion, like it doesn't make sense to like work your whole life and then pay somebody to like make investment decisions for you, which would like lower the amount of money that you would make from your investments because you're paying them on top of what little money they're generating for you, or even maybe even like losing from you. But yeah, like this is something to where like start, because it takes years and years. Like you can't, investing something to where like you got to learn through, like a big part of it is education and knowing like how everything works and how economies work and how the markets work and everything. But an even bigger part is understanding psychology and like how your mind works with like money and stuff like that, and that's something where you have to learn through trial and error. You have to learn through like making mistakes and like having success through investing. So you pretty much like have to just like be in that game for a while, and it's going to take years and years. So, a lot of people, you look at what happens, and a lot of people go from like poverty to like, say, athletes. Look at how many athletes, like professional athletes, make millions of dollars, and then they have like 5 years where they're making millions and millions of dollars, and they were broke before that. And then they make bad investing decisions, and then they're broke after like making more money than most people make in like a lifetime in just a few years. So basically what I'm saying is like you start learning investing before you have the money. You start learning this source of passive income of investing now, because then what happens is basically, years and years later, when you do start bringing in like money that you can actually like, make a substantial amount from investing, then you've already like made the mistakes, the majority of the big mistakes. So you're not going to like lose a lot of money. Like, when you start out and you're investing like $10 just to start, when you don't know what you're doing, you lose that $10 is $10. You lose $100 is $100, but you don't know what you're doing. You start putting like your net worth, like all the money you have into investments, you lose everything, and you don't know what you're doing. So, you just got to stay educated. That's what I'm trying to do, is bring value to people so they can really know what's going on. But yeah, anyway, I feel like I've gone on a little bit longer than I planned on. So, that's the live thing for today. Hope you got some value out of what I had to say. Go ahead and smash up the like if you hadn't already. Go ahead and subscribe because I'm coming in with new information steady. Hit the bell notification so you can stay in tune with the station. So it'll notify you whenever I drop a new live video or any video for that matter. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. Hopefully you got some value off of something I had to tell you. And that's it for today. I'm out.